This conference will now be recorded.
All right, so they had a problem last week with the recording that didn't have the cloud recording available for some reason. So we didn't get the cameras, all we got was the screen share. Speaking of which, let me go ahead and do a screen share here. So you now should be looking at my Logos. All right. So I made myself a couple of notes, and tonight I want to cover the Go box, and then we did a little bit of that last week, but I want to do more with it tonight. And then after the Go box, we're going to move on to the notes feature. So we can spend the whole time on notes. We can spend weeks and weeks on notes. And I want to make sure that we at least give an overview on it and give you guys some practice on it. So let me close that for now. All right. So on the desktop, again, yours should look very similar. We all have the same three icons on the top left: the home button, which just toggles on and off; the library button, which we've explained a couple of times now, where you can left click it, you can right click it, you can even drag it down, drop it on your desktop, things like that. The fact book. I know I introduced it last week, and we probably should spend more time on it just because there is so much in the fact book, but I would recommend you explore that quite a bit. The search button is a little bit hidden. It's not really a full icon, but it is a hidden button there inside of the Go box. And we talked about Bible searches, basic searches. Didn't really get into the other ones, media clause, more for syntax, but we can save those for more advanced classes. So that's all on the top left, and then we get to the Go box there. To the right of the Go box, we have docs, guides, and tools. We talked about that last week. I don't know if you guys have put many bookmarks up top here or not, but you can drag anything you want onto the toolbar and just leave it, drop it there as a bookmark. So things that I'm constantly opening, including my typical Bible, New American Standard. I put that on there. I tell you, I'm always pulling up my Merriam-Webster's dictionary because I don't know English too good. So when I want to look up an English word, I got my Merriam-Webster's dictionary right there. You can have other things as well, such as shortcuts to the highlighting panel. Probably need to go over that in a couple of weeks as well. Shortcuts to the collections utility. Shortcut to my favorites menu. We should talk about that as well. Shortcuts to the text comparison utility. And then layouts, different layouts that you can have. And this is your layout button here where you keep all of your layouts. But then if you have consistent layouts that you're always using all the time, like a Proverbs layout, a Philemon layout, a Genesis layout, those kind of things. I guess I can delete my Philemon layout now. There we go. Anyway, just start dragging things up there. If you find you're using them a lot, drag it up to the toolbar and drop it there, and you'll just benefit from it down the road. On the top right, you've got your layouts button. You've got your close all button, which is only active if you actually have windows that are open. But if you got a bunch of things that are open and you want to close them all, then this close all button is very handy for that. The shopping cart represents the Logos store, which is always dangerous. Then you have your profile item there, where you can adjust your profile. You can go to your account settings. By the way, this is true for your Logos profile. The same thing as your Faith Life profile, your Faith Life groups, for example. All comes right there off of your account button. And then your command menu there for the program itself with the various settings, program scaling. If you find that it's too small and you want to make it larger, or it's too big, you want to make it smaller, you can do the program scaling right there. And also, when you start up your application, if there's a particular theme that you want or a layout that you want, this is where you can establish those settings as well. All right. So for tonight, though, let's talk about the Go box. The Go box is just a shortcut to just start with whatever. Okay. So if you want to look at Genesis 1:2, you can just start typing a passage. Okay. And it's also useful to that give you such maximum flexibility. You'll notice I just typed GEN space 1 space 2. Okay. And that's about as fast as you can type any Bible passage, and it's going to parse that for you as a book, chapter, and verse. Okay. You don't have to do a gen period space 1:2. I mean, you can if you want to, but gen dot space 1:2 is just the same as doing gen space 1 space 2. Okay. Or gen 1.2. If you don't want to do colons, if you just want to do periods. Periods are easier to type than colons because you don't need a shift, but I think space is the easiest of all. So gen 1, 2, things like that. So if you put in a Bible verse, then you're going to see a drop down like you see here. It recognizes that you put Genesis 1:2 in the Go box. The very top item is going to be, hey, do you want to open your Bible to that passage? You typed in a Bible verse. Logos is guessing maybe you want to look at that Bible verse in your favorite Bible. So if that's the case, you just type in Genesis 1:2, and you'll see that, and all you got to do is hit enter, and there you go. It just opened your Bible to the verse you went to. Okay. Controls W closes your window. It's a basic Windows shortcut. Again, Genesis 1:2. And if you guys have other verses you want to look at, let me know. I don't mind looking at any of them. Below the Bible verse, though, then you have certain resources. And these are going to start picking up like your top commentaries. So for example, that's what you're going to see here. These are different commentaries, the New American Commentary to Genesis. I'm not sure how they populate some of these things, honestly. The fact book has a little bit of logic behind it, and I've yet to, that's a journal entry there. So it looks like it's searching your commentaries. It looks like it's searching your journals. Yeah. Then there's also an option to open your fact book. You can open your fact book to any of these topics that are listed here, and those are generated based on the Bible passage. You can also open passage study guide layout to Genesis 1:2.
Hey,
You
Bob.
can even, yes.
Um, I- for some reason, my layout is above the lookup and the go box. How do I change the order?
That's curious to me. I don't know. I don't know that you can, and I'm not sure why yours is that way.
Hmm.
Nice to have you with us, Adam. I didn't realize you were signed in. Welcome.
Yeah, I joined a couple minutes late.
Okay, no, not a problem. Um,
Hey, Adam.
so
Hey, Carl.
yeah, so you're going to have an assortment of Bibles and commentaries and other tools and layouts, and even just a reading. Start reading aloud if you want Logos to read the verses for you. That's an opportunity there. You also have some search options where you can search for that particular reference, and that'll go into some of the other searches that we'll go into later. All right, so that's with a Bible passage. Also, just with a topic, let's just say you want to look up Cain murders Abel. Okay, just start typing words, and your Go box is really going to start helping. It's going to be searching for tools in your fact book, like fact book entries. It's going to start searching for other things. You might even do a Bible search for that phrase. Other topics like adultery. There's a topic, okay? And so again, it's going to recommend some resources from your library. Got a resource called Biblical Counseling Keys on Adultery, God's Unfaithful Wife, a Biblical Theology of Spiritual Adultery. There's just a couple of resources. Tools, your fact book, different layouts. You can do a topic study layout, different guides like a word study guide on adultery. So really this drop-down menu is flexible, and it's going to get rewritten depending on the kind of information you're putting in the Go box. And there's just a ton that you can do with the Go box. And I believe one of the quick start videos. I don't know if you guys have done any of the quick start for Logos 9 videos. I think one of them here centers on the Go box. I might be wrong.
Yeah, I think there was one on that.
Yeah, I think there is. Yeah,
I
there
think
it
it's
is.
the third. Yep.
Yeah, getting ready to study now with the Go box. So Morris will walk you through more of the particulars on that Go box. But I know I don't use it as often as I should, and it didn't used to be as functional as it is now. And I think in the earlier versions, it was basically useful just to type in a verse and open a Bible. But now that it can do so much more, I probably need to get more accustomed to using it more. Any questions on the Go box? Otherwise, I want to go ahead.
Just one thing I noticed on the mobile app, you can't type like Gen _1 _2. You got to like type the full thing out on the mobile app for some reason.
Okay, yeah, the app doesn't have all the functionality that the program has, so yeah, that may be the case.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a ton of flexibility too. So like every abbreviation you can imagine, like Genesis can be not only GEN, but just GN as well. Exodus could be EX or EXOD or EXD. They've got a pretty wide and flexible use of abbreviations for almost anything you've ever seen in a commentary somewhere, or you've ever seen in a Bible class. Yeah. All right, well, let's talk about notes. And my setup is going to be a little bit awkward, but I don't mind showing it. You can get to notes a couple of different ways. I think you can just type in notes in the Go box. Maybe not. Yeah, tool, you can show notes. Okay. So that's one way to get there. You can also come up here to the tools menu where you have notes available. Takes you to the same place. Also under docs, they have, and if you want to go make a new note, you can, or maybe not. They used to put those there, and then sometimes they don't. Nope, looks like they don't. All right, so forget what I said about docs, but it's on the tools menu, and it's from the Go box. You can get to notes either place. You can also, if you want, once you have your tools open, you can drag this whole panel up here to your toolbar, drop it there, and then you'll have a notes shortcut on your toolbar. Okay. I actually have several notes on my toolbar, but I usually have them hidden inside this menu here. I got 5 of them hidden inside this notebooks directory up top there. But and we can show you how to do that as well. But just starting with notes, I have 7,300 notes. Okay, so this is going to be overwhelming. You're going to have far fewer than this, but that's fine. Just follow along, make your own notes, and I'll walk you through it. Now, this may not be your default view, so let me go ahead and open that. This is the sidebar, which just toggles open and closed, however frequently you like clicking that little icon there. And then a note itself, like that. All right. Now this is kind of patterned after a product called OneNote, I think. It's patterned after some secular software that's out there. I think it's Microsoft OneNote or some other utilities like that. So if you've ever used those programs, then this layout might be familiar to you. But essentially, you got 3 different sections there. And if it gets to be too cluttered, of course, you can always make it larger. You can even, fill your whole window with it if you want. Or you can also fly it out. Any window that's open, you can float this panel, and then then you can move it around wherever, put it on a different monitor. You can make it as large as you want. You can maximize it, things like that. Dock this panel. So you're floating and you're docking. Those are the two commands, floating and docking. So right now I've got it docked. All right. Something to, let me just start with making a basic note. How about that? And because I'm just going to assume that you guys, maybe you've already made a few notes or you have some already. Carl, do you have some notes already made up?
Yes, I have a few.
Okay. When you have it set to all, it should just tell you how many the results are there. I imagine it's not 7,300, but you'll get there. Just keep plugging away at it. So the best thing about this though is once you start making notes, you're going to want to start organizing those notes, and you're going to want to start filing them in notebooks. You're going to want to start tagging them, and you're going to possibly want to start working with different labels and different colors and different schemes. And I can't tell you how to do that. You have to find your own way to do that based upon how you think, what jogs your memory, the way you like to study, and things like that. So I'm just going to kind of show you the basic setup for this. And let me start by just showing what these three panels here are, from left to center to right. This left panel is your contents panel, I think it's called. Sidebar. Okay, open or close the sidebar. So with the sidebar open, this allows you to filter your notes. And you can filter all of your notes based upon all of these various criteria. And I need to do more on this than I do, but if it's something that I know I've done in the last 7 days, this is a handy a handy filter to apply, because then I'm not looking through 7,300 notes. Now I'm only looking through 17 notes. Okay, and those are the 17 notes that are populated right here in this center column, and I can look down that list in pretty short order. Okay, and so that's where I've applied this filter where a note has been modified in the last 7 days, or maybe if a note has been created in the last 7 days. So you have options for created or modified, and those are your filters there. A whole lot of other filters that I don't use as much, and I probably need to use more. Maybe my most common filter that I will search by is notebook. And so when I search by notebook, that's this option right here. And when I'm searching by notebook, then I've got an opportunity to come in here. So like I have a notebook for my Wednesday evening Q&A notes. And that's my Wednesday evening Q&A notebook. So now, once I've selected that filter, I usually go ahead and close that sidebar. I don't need that sidebar open. Once I have the filter applied, I don't need to keep looking at that sidebar. To me, it just gets in the way. Close it, free up more space here in this window. And now I can see all these notes. And every Q&A that's ever been given, every question that's been given is going to be here. It's going to be saved. It's saved. It's got eternal security, just like we do. It's saved until the rapture or longer, sitting in the panel there. And then you can sort this column by date created. That puts your newest ones at the top. Just a helpful sorting feature there. If you want to have a compact view, then that really crunches that down. I usually just go with the default view like that. So that's this is just your resulted list of notes right there. And if you don't have any filters applied, then all 7,300 notes are all sitting right there in that column. And if you want to browse down, I mean, you can do that. I don't recommend it. Another way, short of applying a filter or short of scanning down the list, is just start typing in the search window. If you know, for example, that you made a note at some point and Noah was in that note, just start typing the word in there, okay? And then right away I find, you know what? I've only got 5 notes where the word Noah is in there. Okay, including a couple months ago on a Wednesday morning when Ed and I were sitting in the October 6th, when Ed and I were sitting in the dining room at the church, and we were talking about some of these things. And sure enough, I've got Noah as a part of that right there. There's Noah in that note. Here's something that was in a Wednesday evening Q&A. And the reason why I know this is because, let's see, how do I do this? Escape to exit drawing mode, F8 to clear the drawing. All right, so, no, let's not do that. Right here. Ha, I'm getting better at this. All right, but when you can look to the top of your note and you can see what notebook that note happens to be stored in. And if you don't want to keep it in that notebook, you can always move it, put it in any notebook you want, or leave it right there. You can even take it out of all the notebooks and leave it as an uncategorized, no notebook kind of free agent kind of note. Anyway, I also mentioned Noah. This was in a Schaefer conference, the 2019 Schaefer conference, and I was taking notes while I was listening to Dr. Stephen Gare, and he mentioned Noah at that time. There was an email from Bill. That's also in the Wednesday evening Q&A. There's a Skype session, and this was when I was training with Dan Craw and this author, Samuel Noah Kramer, that Dan was recommending on Sumerians. So I don't even remember that. But there it is. Logos remembers. I don't remember. So just putting in a word, and that's just going to help you find notes that you forgot you took. Okay. But really, the value in the notes is more than just opening up your notepad and looking at notes. The real value in notes is where you put those notes, where you connected those notes to the text, or where you connected those notes to another book in your library, or a note that you took that you come across later when you're reading a particular passage. So I'll go ahead and close that for now. And I'm going to just open up my Bible. All right, and I didn't show you this feature. This is your navigation bar in your Bible window, and you can toggle that on and off with a Control-Shift-L. It's called the Locator Bar. And my favorite is leaving it on verse. When I leave it on verse, then every time I do an up arrow or a down arrow, it's just moving one verse at a time. Okay, and that can be very helpful, especially if I'm scrolling through 3 simultaneous windows. One verse, one verse, one verse, that can be helpful. You can change it though if you want to go by chapter, Genesis 2, Genesis 3. You can change it to book if you want to down arrow to Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers. If you want to, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go to annotation. I want to find my next annotation. And there's an annotation that I made in Numbers 14:24. There's another annotation that I made in Numbers 23:22. So now here's the case where I'm finding a note that I took on the wild ox, and maybe I don't remember the note that I put on the wild ox. If I hover the mouse over that, okay, I can see a preview, a little tooltip, tells me it's in the Wednesday evening Q&A folder, an animal reference. And so if I go ahead and stop hovering and just click it, there you go. It's going to open up that note. And I didn't really type a whole lot in there other than I put the anchor on the word wild. I put in here that it was an animal reference. I think the question was maybe asked, this was 3 years ago. Okay. I think the question was asked, could that possibly be an angelic reference? Could it be, is it an animal reference? What do I understand that as? And so that's the note that I took on a Wednesday evening when the question was being asked. Now, I may decide, you know what, I don't really want to keep that note anymore. I can delete it. I can also move the anchor. Right now, the anchor is on, this verse is on the word wild, okay, from Numbers 23:22 in the New American Standard. This is actually worth pointing out. All right, so the anchor for the note, you can put an anchor on a verse, you can put an anchor on a word inside of a verse, you can put an anchor on anything really. And so it's useful to know that where you put your anchor may affect how you sort your notes and how you use your notes. So let's just say I want to add a different note here on Egypt. I just highlight it and I'm going to right click and I'm going to add a note, which is going to be over here. You know what? Let me see. I don't want to add a note there. Oh, because it's the word Mitzrayim. Let me change to the selection Egypt. There we go. All right, and now I want to add a note. So now I have a note and it's attached to Egypt. This note here is attached to wild ox. Those are two separate notes. They're both in the same verse, but they're two separate notes. And maybe this note, I'm going to do something different with this note. So I'm going to come over here and this note here that's attached to Egypt, this is going to be part of my new Egypt study. Okay, that's part of my new Egypt study. And I want to put it in a notebook. Let me see. Well, I'll leave it. I got to show you guys how to make notebooks here in a moment. I wish they put this in a better spot. Inside of this sidebar, you have your filters, but you also have your notebooks, okay? And I don't know why they hide them in there. You have your filters and you have your notebooks. And in your notebooks now, I want to go ahead and make one. I'm going to call it Egypt Study. All right, so now I've got a notebook called Egypt Study. I can go ahead and close that. And now when I want to set the notebook here, I just type in Egypt, there it is, Egypt Study. My note is set. Now, different things that I'm going to do with this note, okay? I'm going to decide what icon to give the note. You see right now the icon is a purple square with a question mark. I don't want it to be, I want it to be a purple heart. No, I want it to be a maroon heart. Or whatever you want, okay? And that's the icon, okay? And you got all these icon options, you have all these color options, and any icon can be any color. And that's only for the icon that shows up to point out the note. If you want to highlight the note, that's right next to the icon. You have the highlight style. So if you want to use the icon color, you can use the icon color. And now the word Egypt has the same color that matches the icon. If you change the icon color, you're going to change the note highlight. Maybe you don't want to highlight. Maybe you want to leave it unhighlighted, then turn off the highlight. Or maybe you like the highlight. You want maybe you want an orange highlight and you don't want an icon. So turn off the icon. And I can't tell you what's right, what's wrong, the best way to do this. It's all up to you. It's how colorful you want to make your Bible. How marked up do you want it to be?
Hey, Bob, I got a question.
Yeah.
All right, so you've got a computer at the house that you study on, or do you do all your studying on your little laptop? I mean, your little, I'd
Most
call
of, yeah, most of my study is on the desktop here in the office.
it, okay. But you bring your notebook to class, right?
Mhm. Yep.
And it automatically populates whatever you do on the, I mean, almost like instantaneous, because I'm sitting here using my laptop and my iPad, and it's like showing
Yes,
up on both of them. It's kind of incredible, really.
it is. So when I start up my my Surface Pro, this is what I put in the pulpit. And when I start Logos on the Surface Pro, everything that I'm doing here, including this new Egypt note, that's going to show up on there. It's going to show up on the laptop. Also, when I open my app on the phone, I can open up my app on the phone right now to numbers 2323, and I'm going to see both of those notes sitting there. It is absolutely incredible. They synchronize, everything matches up. It's all going to be there.
Well, you know,
Now,
if this was anybody but Logos, it'd scare us to death, wouldn't it?
I don't care if there is, you know, if Google or the federal government or if they want to spy on my Bible study, I hope they learn a lot. I hope they learn a lot of doctrine while they spy on my Bible study. So, so I've shown you now a couple of anchors. I've got an anchor on the word Egypt. I've got an anchor on the word wild ox. But you're going to notice both of these anchors are inside of the, they're inside the New American Standard Bible, attached to these words inside the New American Standard Bible. So if I was to open up a Lexham English Bible to numbers 2322, oh, look at that. Egypt, and the same word that's translated here, the strength of a wild ox, because it's actually attached to the word wild. So it doesn't matter what Bible you're opening, if there's an equivalent there, they put the notes there. That's interesting. And I think this is under the visual filter. I think there's a way to deselect that if you don't want that to be there. Community notes. Oh, here we go. Notes and highlights. If you decide there's a note that you just don't want to show up in a particular Bible, you can deactivate them. In fact, for the Lexham English Bible, let me go ahead and just turn off all notes and highlights, and then they should just go away, or not. All right. I gotta learn more about those features. Other things on notes. You can attach a note not only to a particular word inside of a verse, but you can attach a note to the entire verse. So instead of going to the selection of Egypt, go to the reference of numbers 2322, and you can add a note there. You can add a note there, and you can put it in whatever folder you want. You can leave it without a folder. Again, you can change your icon. So the reason being is you may have different purposes for different notes, and there's really no limit. You can have an infinite number of notes on any particular verse, on the verse as a whole, on a word inside the verse. You can have it on an English word, you can have it on a Hebrew word, you can have it on a Greek word, and it's gonna be tagged, and it's gonna show up in your notes. Does it make sense? Any questions on that? You can tag a word, you can tag a verse. Now, let's just say you already have a note here on numbers 2322, and let's say, you know what, I want to change that. Instead of numbers 2322, I really want it to be 18 through 24. I want the whole thing. Okay. A couple ways you can do that. You can either add a whole new note, or in this same note that you already have open, go ahead and add an anchor. Add it to those references there. Numbers 23, 18 through 24. Add that as an anchor, and then just come up here and delete that first anchor. And there you go. You just changed your anchor. And instead of being a note that's attached to verse 22, now you've got a note that's attached to 18 through 24, which you would see if you highlighted it with the icon color. So yeah, anchors can be really important. I think I do a lot with anchors. I do a lot with multiple anchors inside the same note, so that, for example, let me show you some of the notes I'm working on with respect to salvation. So like I got phase 3 salvation, phase 2 salvation, phase 1 salvation. So like here's my phase 1 salvation. This is being saved from the penalty of sin, transfer from the domain of darkness, going to heaven when I die. In other words, this means I'm saved. I have eternal life. I'm not an unbeliever anymore. And what I'm doing, and I got a long project to do this, but I'm actually putting in these red stars. You notice it's a red star anchor. It's a red star icon. And I'm putting in a red star, attaching it to the word saved. But I'm adding extra anchors. So everywhere I have saved or salvation or saving, things like that, eventually when this project is done, and don't ask me how long I've been working on this, eventually I want to have a red star for every phase 1 salvation, a blue star for every phase 2 salvation. I want to have a green star for every phase 3 salvation. Salvation is nearer to us than when we believe. That's Romans 13:11. I want to have a purple star for every phase 4 salvation, where I'm rescued from physical danger. Save us, Lord, we are perishing. And eventually, when I get all of this done, what I need to do is go through and just spend a day looking at every sozo and soteria and soter that we have in the New Testament, and just spend a day going through these particular anchors, and just populate all of them. And then I'll have an entire New Testament just filled with these 4 colored stars to visually represent the phase of salvation that is employed in that text. So anyway, this is, to me, this is a really nice use for being able to have multiple anchors that all point to the same note. They don't have to be, in fact, they don't have to be very long notes. They just have to be short enough where if I hover the mouse over it, then it pops up and it shows me in very brief usage what that particular save is all about. Does that make sense?
Is there a way to import and export notes?
Excellent question. Import and export. I don't think so. You can duplicate a note. Let's see. Let me see. There is a print export. Let me see. I'm going to make a note and ask myself. All right, let me go to the Logos Tuesday training, and I'm going to add a note. Adam wants to know, can we import and export notes? All right, and I'll try to have an answer by next week.
Awesome.
All right. I don't know why I like the red light bulb for all of these, but that's what I'm doing. All right. It seems to me like there ought to be a way, like I know you can, for example, you can select and then shift click. Now I've got all three of those notes are selected. With all three of those notes selected, now I can change some of the properties over here. You know, I can move them into a different folder. I can change the note icon. I can add tags, things like that. Print export, here we go. Copy to clipboard, save as a file. Looks like that's all the export functions. Anyway, I'll research more on that too, because importing would be handy if they're able to import like CSV files or some other kind of XML format. So, all right. Some other features too. I mentioned I like to keep that side panel closed as off, that sidebar. Also, if I don't need to see the whole list of every note in this notebook, if I just need to see one particular note, then I can close that middle column too with this little icon here. And I don't even know what this icon here is called, but it's just got the kind of the close arrows together, the open arrows pointing apart. That's just toggles that column open and closed. All right. Some other things about notes. You may want to just start creating extra notebooks. Let me show you some of the notebooks I have that might be useful. Let me go ahead and close these. Close that note. All right. Wow, I got 7,303 results. Now, a lot of these extra notes, I'm just kind of garbage throwaway notes. I'm gonna go ahead and delete them after our class is over tonight. But even though I'm deleting them, Logos maintains the recycle bin. And if you want to undelete something that you deleted 10 years ago, chances are you can go find it still and undelete it in the Logos recycle bin. But be that as it may. Some particular helpful notebooks, for example, let me show you. I've got a notebook for each of these recent Schaefer conferences I've been to, a 2010 Schaefer conference, a 2012, 2013, 2014, a 2016 pre-trib conference. I created a separate notebook for all these various conferences that I go to. And then, so for example, here's the 2021 Schaefer conference. And within the 2021 Schaefer conference, there's these 12 individual notes, okay? And I made a different note for each speaker. So here's Greg Allen, and his title was Marxist Deceptions Infiltrating Christianity. He had an assortment of verses that he referenced. I typed those in as he was teaching them, and it just made it handy to be able to go back and forth through the different passages that he was speaking on just by typing in the verses and doing that. Mike Stollard, definition of dispensationalism. These were the notes. And either I'm typing those notes myself, or very frequently, the speakers are providing papers. The speakers are providing Word documents or PDFs, whatever may be the case. And I take everything the speaker gives me and I put it right in here. I put it right in this note file so that as he's speaking, I can be following along in his outline. I can be adding extra notes myself. I can be tagging different things. And so there's Dennis Roxer, there's Mike Stallard. Yes, sir.
Will we be able to do this through the Bible?
Absolutely, yeah. So I would recommend, so for example, I would recommend create a notebook for Through the Bible and just start making your own Through the Bible notes. And I would suspect if you have a Through the Bible notebook, you may then want to add a day 1 note, a day 2 note, a day 3 note. So each day that we're teaching through the calendar year, you can have a note that's tagged with just that exact day, and then you can start, keeping your own notes or pasting in the notes that I'm giving, put those in there, and so you can use those. And so, for example, that may be very handy as well if you, not only do you keep your notes here in this panel, but then you add the anchors that will connect that note with those chapters that we're reading. So that's,
And let's say you, 'cause I know you went through this not too long ago. You get rid of your old computer. In fact, you were thinking about getting rid of the one you got now, and you get a new computer. Then I guess that Logos has just got everything and it'll repopulate it for you.
yep. Yeah, if you get a brand new machine from the store and you put a fresh install on Logos on there, when you sign in with your email and password, Logos is gonna update your system with all of this, with all of your notes, with all of your books.
So
Yep.
they're giving you quite a bit of storage.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Amazing.
Yep. And really, these notes are minimal. I mean, just a few bytes, a few kilobytes. They're not until you start adding photos and videos and things like that. Essentially, note files are just minuscule text files. So compared to the gigabytes that your library is, anything that you're creating within your notes is going to be pretty negligible, just for megabyte capacity. One of the newer features to this is the capacity to be able to add pictures. So let me see. Here's the notes I was taking when B3 was teaching Psalm 119. Cornelius, when Cornelius was teaching, I keep my notes there. When Dan Craw was teaching 1 John. So anytime I'm sitting in the auditorium and I'm taking notes, chances are I've created a folder based on who's teaching. Hey, look at that, Ed Cheney classes. Ed Cheney taught a class on April 14th, 2021.
Okay.
And so these are the notes that I took.
Well, those
And
are very good notes.
I took a lot of notes. And sometimes it looks like I didn't have any big issues there. Sometimes if there was something that I thought was just way, like when you said evil was not judged on the cross, if something like that gets my attention and I want to discuss it later, a lot of times I'll just come in here and then I'll go ahead and I'll highlight it. And I'll highlight it and put a mark by it and say, talk to Ed after class and that kind of thing. So I do this with Cornelius, I do this with Dan, I do this with anybody I'm listening to. Gap theory and demonology, Geisler quiz questions. These are all the notes connected to the Geisler quiz questions that we were doing with Grace Notes. There's my notes for Genesis Prep. There's Glenn Carnegie and his Hebrews class. Anyway, so I recommend you play with this and just start adding notebooks, start adding notes. If you find that it's starting to get unwieldy, I'll help you wield the unwieldy, because there is a way to just start filtering. And if you decide I don't want any more untagged notes, I don't want any more notes that aren't in notebooks. Okay, well then it's easy enough to select them all and then just start putting them in notebooks. So
How far back do all your notes go?
all the way back to the beginning. I mean, every note I've ever taken since. That's not true. They had a major upgrade to the note system. I think with Logos 4 or Logos 5, one of those had a major update. So notes that were older than that, they had to be manually copied and recreated. But the notes since then have always just updated and carried forward.
Amazing.
Yeah. All right. By the way, not only can you keep your notes in here, you can also have other people's notes. So that's the filter, not the type, not the resource, not the Bible book, not the notebook, not the tags. Let's see. Author, here we go. You or somebody else. All right. So I've got 28 notes that aren't even my notes. Okay. And So this is one of Robbie Dean's highlights. This is from, so I downloaded a file from Robbie Dean's Faith Life group, and he has a file. It's called Dr. Robert Dean Highlights. And when I obtain my own local copy of his highlights, then they show up here. So I've got, they're sitting inside my note. I've got 28 of them here. I haven't done as much with this as I need to, and that's a feature I want to do. So ideally, this is going to be something too, as we're generating, maybe we're all doing a study together. We're all doing through the Bible, or we're all doing basics, or we're all doing grace notes. Then if there's value in sharing those, we can share those, and we can share those with any Faith Life group that we're a part of. So if we're a part of the Austin Bible Church Faith Life group and we want to share a particular notebook that we have, then you can share that note with a group that you're connected to. And that's and then other people have the chance to go in and add it to their Logos and make use of it like that. So,
And you can tag your notes to any books you have in your library. Let's say, example, you're studying in Greek. If you want to tag it to Wallace's book, you can do that.
Yep. So yes, definitely, like Greek Grammar Beyond the Basics by Daniel Wallace. You can put a note right in there, and absolutely, and that note that you put right in there, you have within your notes utility, and save it in whatever folder you want, and share that if you like. Yeah, it is really an amazing tool, and I know I'm hardly even scratching the surface on it.
Well, you better be careful. You just work your way out of a job, you know.
That's fine.
They would listen to you when you got all this at your hands.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, any more questions on notes? I mean, there's so much more we can do. So you can add a note to a dictionary. I mean, any resource, you can add a note to it. You can add a note to a verse. You can add a note to a word. You can add a note to a, and then, all right, here's something else you can do. So let me just find another example. Go back to this one. All right, so let's say I've got this note here on Egypt. All right, I got this note here on Egypt, and this is my note, part of my new Egypt study. And let's say I really want to make sure within this Egypt study, let me right click the word Egypt. Let me just select Mitzrayim, the Hebrew word Mitzrayim. Here we go. And I got the Hebrew word Mitzrayim there. And I know for a fact that the, let's just say I want to open up BDAG or BDB. Here we go. All right, yeah, I want to make sure that I come back to this entry down the road. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this location. And you can bookmark any book. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to say, check out BDB, and I'm going to attach an anchor there. I'm going to put in a there we go, highlight BDB, and this is where I'm going to put the link. There we go. So now I've got this BDB resource that's inside my note to remind me that I'm going to go back and look at the BDB entry for Mitzrayim. And then I'm going to add a map for Egypt. Simplest way to do that, I think, is to right-click the name of it, come here and look at Egypt as a place, and look at my atlas. And let's say, I'm just going to select that map there. The Egyptians enslaved the Israelites. All right, so that's the map that I want to pull up. And again, I'm going to copy this location, and I'm going to put in a hyperlink there on the word map. Paste my shortcut I just made. There we go. Add a map for Egypt. So you just start putting these links in here. You can also add an anchor if you want, things like that. But this will help you to remember. And these are just little reminders that you're putting in your note file. And oh yeah, when I'm doing this great Egypt study that I got coming up, I want to look at Brown Driver Briggs. I'm going to look at my map. And so, you know, they don't even have to be open. I can have nothing open whatsoever. And then the next time I open it, it remembers where I was. I can open up this Egypt note, or I can just hover over it. See the little tooltip there. And then open up the map again, right where I left it. Open up the lexicon again, right where I left it, right where I saved the link.
For some reason, you have you can attach an image, but on mine I don't have that option.
Okay, so are you on the desktop program?
Yeah, but I'm on an Apple. That might be the problem.
Yeah, you can add an image, and this is, by the way, this utility is very similar to the FaithLife utility. If you're adding an image on FaithLife, these are the most recent images I added on FaithLife. You can tell I was not doing well because I uploaded this thing 5 times trying to get it to attach once. There's B3. So yeah, you can, I don't know why I'm going to put an image of Bob in there, but there you go. Yeah, you can put, and any, if you got a JPEG on your computer, you can upload it. That's my son in his office at FaithLife. All right. That's curious. Oh, look at that. So it saves it in my media. Oh, I can do a lot with that now. That's kind of cool. All right. Well, I'll have to play with that some more too. So yeah, now attaching the images, I want to say, Adam, when you come up here and you go to About Logos Bible Software, you probably have, what does it show you under features?
Mini Logos 9 features? Yeah, it might be that.
Okay, I think that's what it
I'm
is.
on
I
an
think
older
there's a,
version too.
yeah, there's a certain feature. I got to look that up too. Go back to my file. What features do we need in order to add pictures to note files? All right, I'll see if I can research that. All right. Also at the bottom of every note, you can add a tag, okay? And let's just say I have a tag for anything. How about a tag for delete later, delete after class? All right, so now I've got a delete after class tag, okay? And maybe if I'm in a class like right now and I'm making, you know, a dozen or more notes and they're just kind of little throwaway things, little kind of, I mean, I'm not really going to do an Egypt study anytime soon. If this is not a note I want to keep long term and I'm never really going to go back and look at this again, then having this tag available is going to help me to find them first of all, and then to go through and delete the ones that need to be deleted. So tag, and you can use any tag you want, make up your own tag. add all kinds of tags. The tags are strictly for you to use, but they're searchable, they're indexable, they're going to show up as filters inside the filters here when you're looking at tags. And these are all my tags. So for delete after class, that's my only one. All right. Yeah, filters, just remember, and I wish they placed this somewhat better. It's inside the sidebar that you not only have your filters, but you also have your notebooks. And I guess that's not a bad place to keep them, but very frequently I forget that they're there. At the bottom of this is also your trash. That's where the things you've deleted can be found. All right. And then this is your list of notes, which you can toggle on and off right there. Okay, I know there's got to be more. The neat thing is, though, this window up here at the top is so, I mean, it's searching everything. It's searching all 7,303 notes, right? So, Ed Cheney, you know, you're right there in 2 of my notes. Just Ed by yourself is in 61 notes.
But it may be some other ads.
There could be other Eds, that's right. Could be other Eds. But anything like fullness of times, you know, anything that you're searching, man, it's just so useful to find things that you're looking for. That search window at the top is really, it's my go-to place. I go there before I go to filters, before I go to notebooks. I go there when I'm just looking for something. If I'm going to see, if I'm going to find these Adam notes later on. Now the problem with Adam is that it may not be Adam Carnegie. I may be finding a lot of, you know, Genesis 1 Adam, but that's okay. That's all right. So yeah, practice with the notes. They've gotten so much better. And in fact, I would say through Logos 1, 2, and 3, I rarely used the notes. They were quirky, they were clunky. I just didn't like them. But they have really, really gone, you know, above and beyond in these recent editions. And I can't say enough good things about the note files. Also, like I say, you can make these as long as you want to make them. This is what I'm doing with Robbie Dean on the Day of the Lord. And I mean, you can just keep typing and typing and adding extra passages and putting extra verses in there and adding extra links. You've got a word processor toolbar at the top here if you want to format with underlines and bold and different fonts and different justifications, things like that. There's really I mean, it's not like a Microsoft Word, but it is like a notepad or a just kind of a basic text editor right there. All right. Let's see. So those are the notes. Any other questions on notes? I feel like you probably also want to the go box, then the notes. Mateo Mike is the one that emailed me from the Philippines, asking about notes, tags, notebooks. Can you organize your notes in these notebooks? Yes. Is there a way to add pictures to your notebooks? It really depends on the features, I think. I talked about the anchors. I don't really know about the Discovery Bible software, but he and I were talking about that the other day. Ah, book collections, narrowing search results. That's another topic. Yeah. We can address that too. All right. There was something about half hour ago I said we should really look into that. Do you remember what that was? Oh, I remember now. Bookmarks, favorites. Okay. Yeah, I use these so much that they're up here, but they are also under tools, highlighting, favorites. Atlas, yeah. Yeah, there's favorites, there's collections, there's history. All right. So if you're like me and you find things that you want to go back to, not just resources, but articles, there is a panel called your favorites panel, and it typically shows up on the left. If you don't want it there, you can move it over to the right, and you can resize it. I mean, you can do different things with it, but just the default where it opens, I'm kind of used to keeping it there. And all of these favorites, there's a difference between favorites and bookmarks. You only have 9 bookmarks, and I don't really use those so often. But the favorites I use a lot. So, and then within the favorites, you can classify them with folders and so forth. So for example, my chronological aspects of the life of Christ, I am always looking at these articles. The different journal articles on, just different things. Philip Sterling had different articles on 2 modes of humanity. And so I went ahead and put these here. Let's do that. And so anyway, it's a great way to organize your favorites. It's a good way to, especially if they're going to be things you're going to periodically go back to from time to time. He had these 3 journal articles in the Journal of the Grace Evangelical Society. So I went ahead and I bookmarked all 3 of them and put them in that favorites folder, so I can keep going back to them again and again. I also attach notes to these, and inside my fullness of times notebook, and I put anchors on these, because he really explored the idea of having mortal humanity and immortal humanity on Earth at the same time. He was talking about, he really explored the reality of the 1,000 generations after the millennium, and he went beyond 1,000 generations because his argumentation was centered on Isaiah, where it says there will be no end to the increase of his government. And if there is no end to the increase, then the concept there is that procreation never stops, that there's constantly an eternally increasing human population factor, beyond the millennium. So he had some other material in these journals. But I just recommend, not only do you start using the favorites folder, but even grab it and drop it up here on your toolbar so that you have the shortcut right there. Now I don't need 2 of them, so I'm going to delete that one because I still have that one. That's the favorites. Also bookmarks. Bookmarks are not the same as favorites. They're just kind of organized slightly differently. Bookmarks also, by the way, can have shortcuts. Like Control-1 is my shortcut to the 1,000 generations of the fullness of time. So even if I don't have my bookmarks folder open, even if that is closed, I can still do a Control-1 and I can open up the 1,000 generations of the dispensation of the fullness of time. It's always there. It's always available. Bookmark 2 is always available. Bookmark 3, my angelology study from the 2 Corinthians notebook. Whatever it is, if you find that you got these resources and you just want to have them available with just a control click, then save them to your bookmarks, and you'll be able to do that. Oh yeah, I was looking at this for the longest of times. Here's the birth and death of the different patriarchs, their ages according to the Masoretic text, the Samaritan Pentateuch, the Septuagint. And I thought this was a handy table, and I wanted to have that available with just a Control-4. That opens that up. I forget why I was looking at that. Probably doesn't need to be bookmarked. Anyway, favorites. You're going to like favorites. Also, highlights. The highlighting is interesting. Let's talk about highlights. We got a few minutes still. I do this a lot. I've also assigned shortcuts for green, purple, red, and yellow. Okay. Let's just say I'm reading a text. It doesn't have to be a Bible. It can be a Bible. It could be, I mean, it could be anything. And let's just say there's something in there that I'm reading and I just don't like it. Oh, it gets me mad. Maybe it's a Grudem systematic theology or something. Oh, look at that. I don't have any. I know I've got Grudem. Here we go. Oh, this is a terrible book. Free Grace Theology, 5 Ways It Diminishes the Gospel. This is a terrible book. I hate everything this guy has to say, all right? But I read it, and I find something in here that just really hacks me off, makes me mad. And let's just say, oh man, the free grace position claims that we are justified by faith alone. Well, duh. I like that, you know? So I'm going to highlight that green. And I can either open up my highlighting window and select green, right? And then there it is. Or, let me undo that. I'm going to delete the highlights there. Another way to do it is just to highlight it, and I can press the G button. And the reason why is because I assigned a shortcut there, keyboard shortcut for these highlights of green, purple, red, and yellow. So that's just a way to start coloring, okay? And you're going to notice too, by the way, after you've done a lot of coloring, the problem when Free Grace Movement understands alone, all right, in a novel way. No, we don't. Nothing novel about that. So I tend to use green for statements I agree with, red for statements I disagree with, yellow for statements I want to talk about, things like that. You can put, by the way, you can put yellow on top of red. You know what that does? Yellow on top of red makes orange. And just start coloring stuff, okay? Just start coloring stuff. These are called annotations. They're called highlights. But highlights are also, by the way, they're also stored in your notes utility. So if you go ahead and open up, for example, your notes again, and you sort by recently added, what you're going to find here by date created, there's a yellow highlight, a red highlight, a green highlight. These 3 highlights I just added, they're showing up in the top of my notes utility. So now I've got 7,306 notes or highlight annotations that are being tracked. And maybe I want to add more than just coloring it green or more than just coloring it red. I want to add some commentary here, right? I want to say, you know, Grudem is out of his mind, but he's a brother in Christ, so I still love him. All right, whatever. I'm adding these notes, and they're going to be there. They're going to be there the next time I open this note again. And sometimes it's useful. You don't always have to, but sometimes it's useful if you maybe don't remember why you highlighted something. Go ahead and find it and open it up and be done with it, you know, or then add a note, kind of like that. Something else too, if you can't find the note, it's pretty easy to just highlight the text, right click, and then you can open notes and highlights right there. Open notes and highlights. And everything that's within your highlighted text, notice I only highlighted that text. I only got the red and the yellow. If I want to get all three of them, I should have selected a larger portion there. And then with opening the notes and highlights, now I've got all three. I've got the red, I got the yellow, I got the green. And so yeah, now I can come in, I can start editing, I can start changing. If I want, I can just delete them all together. Or I can add anchors, or I can do different things with it, okay? I can select more than one at a time. That's with Shift, Shift, Shift. Every time I Shift click, I'm adding. And so now there's 3 notes that are selected. And if I want, I can change all 3 of them. I can add anchors, I can add tags. So like I can add my delete after class tag right there. And just apply changes. So now all 3 of those now have the delete after class tag. So yeah, highlights are also stored within the notes utility. Didn't used to be that way, but it is now. No, highlights. I do a lot of highlighting, and so I find it helpful to have the highlight tool right there on the toolbar. Besides the solid colors, you also have, here's your history, Control H. I'm gonna go back to, as long as I'm coloring that book. All right. Besides the solid colors and the highlighting, you've got foreground. If you want to do foreground, free grace proponents. And maybe I want to make that with a, instead of a green highlight, I want to make that a green foreground. Can you see that? Is that too, you see what it did there? It just colored the text green. That's called green foreground, as opposed to green. It might be too hard to see.
Yeah, it's kind of hard for me to see.
I'm gonna come along there and.
Well, that made it even worse.
Well, I'm gonna erase that one. Here we go. Just by clicking the erase button. There's an erase button up top there. Anyway, so you got different foregrounds, you have different highlights. You also have emphasis markup, including all caps, underline, bold text, a color box, free grace proponents in a color box, things like that. Double box, double underline, just kind of take a look at these. You can even put an exclamation point in next to a word. You can enlarge the text. I mean, there are just so many different things. Also, different highlighter pens. Here we go, inductive precept. I think this is a K. Arthur method. I don't remember. Somebody has a precept study Bible, an inductive Bible study method. And these are the different symbols that are contained in that. And if you want to make use of those, you can use those. Different colors and shapes and icons and different things there. So for example, there is a Jesus Christ icon there. And if you want to get somebody upset, you can come in here and you can go to Proverbs 8:22. And if you want to tag this me right there, the Lord possessed me at the beginning of his way, just go ahead and mark that as Jesus Christ. Put a little icon right there. Or not. This is all up to you, everything you want to do with it. And then you can create your own custom highlights. This is something that I had done, for example, with Ron Rhodes and his chronological tour through the Bible. I created a custom highlight that searches this book, and every time he mentions AD 30, I changed it with my highlight to crossing off, doing the strike through, putting a line through AD 30, and then replacing it with AD 33, because he keeps insisting on an AD 30 crucifixion date, and I keep trying to fix it for him in his book. So I just put in a custom highlight in there, changing all of his AD 30s to his AD 33s, and took care of that. So yeah, you can create your own custom highlights based upon any of these other highlights that are up here, or just from scratch, making your own custom highlight. Anyway, those are helpful too. And you know, never be afraid of coloring anything, because anything you color can be uncolored. Anything that you highlight, if you realize, you know, down the road, you know, I'm making a video here, I'm saving this on YouTube. Somebody watching the YouTube video may take offense. Or maybe Wayne Grudem himself will see our YouTube video and say, look at this, I'm being slandered. No, like I said, Wayne, you're a brother in Christ, I love you, okay? And, you know, you just don't like free grace theology, I get it. Anyway, this is his book on 5 ways it diminishes the gospel. If you want the answer to that, there is a corollary to 5 ways it enhances. I think that's what it's called. Somebody wrote an answer to Wayne Grudem, and I'm forgetting now. Something with free grace in the title. Oh, there we go, a defense of free grace theology with respect to saving faith, perseverance, and assurance. Okay, so Fred Che, yeah. So that's an answer to Wayne Grudem right there, if you're interested. All right. Any questions on notes, on highlighting, on anything that we've covered here tonight? So we've talked about favorites, we've talked about highlighting, we've talked about bookmarks. There's also a history, which is Control H. It's also up under tools, I think. Yep, there it is, under library. So yeah, I mean, and it keeps a history of everything you've been doing in Logos. This is all what we've been doing tonight. Looks like we're going back to things before you guys signed in. These are some of the things. No, this is still tonight. There's Philip Sterling. There's the Atlas. Yeah, this is all everything we've been doing in the last hour and a half. Right here. Oh no, here's some of the stuff I was doing earlier. Did a word study on mishpacha. That was about lunchtime today when I was working on mishpacha for family or clan. Anyway, Logos keeps an excellent history there, and it's helpful when you're trying to find things you were working on earlier. Looked at text comparison last week. Talked about Canvas. I don't do a lot with Canvas, but I need to do more. I think people like having pictures to look at.
Yeah, I missed the project or the light projector.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, what have we not covered yet? What would you like to do next week? Have you gotten comfortable opening up books and opening up commentaries and linking them together, putting them in different link sets, so that when you go to a passage in one, the other one follows. That can be very handy.
What does it like mean to have multiple link sets? Because I know that you can just do like A, but like why would you need like B or?
Oh, okay, that's an excellent one. Let me show you. So for example, let me open up my Proverbs workspace. So here's my Proverbs workspace. And up here in set A, this is my set A for Bibles in Proverbs 24:1. And I've got another Bible down here that's in link set B. And so I want to leave this one here on a particular verse, and I want to leave that one kind of static while this one can jump around to all kinds of places that I'm searching for. So here in Proverbs 24:1 and 2, and it's going to mention chapter 4, verses 23 and 24. When I click that, I don't want this window in the top right to move. I want this window in the bottom right to move. This window down here is my verse looker upper window. And so this is the one that can move all the time. And but this one up here, I want linked to my English Septuagint. Want it linked, this other one, I want it linked to this one here. So these are both together at Proverbs 4:23. These are both together at Proverbs 24:1. So I could have different Bible sets linked together. Over here, I've got all these commentaries all on link set C, C for commentary. So this one's on Proverbs 24:1 and 2. This one's on Proverbs 24:1 and 2. All of my commentaries are linked together in my link set C. My dictionaries maybe are linked together under link set D. If I have a Bible dictionary that's open, like a Lexham Bible dictionary or something like that. So that's why you want to have multiple sets. And you can have A, B, C, D, E, or F. And if you're using that many link sets, God bless you. That's a cool way to do that. So yeah, there's different ways to do that. These layouts are great. These workspaces are great. These saved layouts. You got some quick start layouts there, like for a passage study, Bible journaling, Bible and commentary. Some of these are just installed by default, so you can explore those yourself. I've got a saved layout, like tomorrow morning when Ed and I meet, sometimes Doug joins us. I call that my 9 a.m. Wednesday layout. So for a 9 a.m. Wednesday layout, put it on the wrong screen. There we go. So it opens up my Wednesday morning note file over there and a Bible over there. That's just a basic layout. Got other layouts. I've got a layout for pulpit display. Got a layout for Schaefer conferences. Grace Notes Doctrine, when we were doing Grace Notes Doctrine. Anyway, layouts are handy. We probably should spend a few minutes on layouts next week. Anyway, be thinking about it between now and next Tuesday night if there's particular topics you want me to cover, if you have particular questions. Also, this video is going to be saved and put on YouTube within, that's something else I can show you here. If you don't remember where the YouTube channel is, just go to austinbiblechurch.com, and right there on the purple banner is the YouTube live stream and archive. This takes you to our YouTube channel, which is Austin Bible Church Videos, okay? And you'll notice our current series playlists are here at the top. Genesis, Proverbs, Through the Bible, Logos Bible Software Training, Grace Notes Doctrine. And so the two that we've done already, if you view the full playlist, are right there. There's number 1, there's number 2. When we finish tonight, it's going to show up underneath here as video number 3. And then you can just keep, reviewing these and go back and And anything maybe I went through too quickly, go back and replay it so that you can remind yourself of what we're learning on all these nights. This new Through the Bible playlist, Adam, did you set that up, or did I'm thinking maybe Maria set that up, or did you set that up?
I think Maria did.
Okay. But this is nice because we started on Sunday morning, this Abiding in the Word, and it's a foundational series for Through the Bible. So it's kind of neat that we're already populating a Through the Bible playlist with these foundational studies. And then obviously, once we launch the Through the Bible series, we'll just keep adding to this playlist, and it'll just keep populating there, the way Genesis keeps populating, the way all of these keep populating. I tell you, you guys that are doing the recording desk, I appreciate everything you guys are doing. Also, now we're recording communion services, so that's kind of cool for folks that miss the communion services. All right. Anyway, that's the way to get there, just real quickly from the home page. Well, it is 8:30. Appreciate you guys being here tonight. I see Cornelius has joined us and Dean has joined us. Welcome, gentlemen. I didn't see when you arrived, but happy to have you here. And I'm going to sign off here in a moment, but good to have you with us. And if you got here late, then just go to the YouTube channel and feel free to get caught up. We'll do this again next week. And see, today is, the 23rd. Next week will be the 30th. So yeah, we'll have this week, we'll have next week. We'll have most of the Tuesdays in December, other than pre-trib. I'll be in Dallas for the pre-trib conference. But anyway, we'll just keep doing this for the rest of the year as long as you guys have questions. I don't mind doing that. Also, we could possibly even have the opportunity to extend the, like where I'm sharing my desktop now, if, let me stop sharing. And if one of you guys wanted to share your desktop, and then, I can look at what you're doing. I can watch what you're doing on your Logos, and then kind of walk you through different things that if that might be helpful for you. If you learn better by doing rather than by watching, then I'm perfectly available to do that as well. So GoToMeeting will allow for other people to share their screens, and even if you wanted to share the mouse and keyboard control. So that would be a way to just show you on your own system what what you're looking at and how you're doing different things. So if that's something you think would be helpful, I'll be happy to do that with you next week as well. All right, well, that's it for tonight. Let me stop the recording then, and we will call it a day.